pretty much like my mom was here all by herself. So, when my dad finished the scholarship and he went back to Vietnam, he made a promise to my mother that, like he would never go again or, do anything like that. He would never be apart from the family again. Actually, I really hate it when people say work-life balance. Like, I hate the word balance. Instead of saying balance, you should say harmony. Because, when you say the word balance, it implies a really strict trade-off. Like you had to pick one thing or another, right?
Yeah. Man, you're gonna
but I don't know, but
you're gonna feel it hard when they start growing up and they start not talking to you again.
I know, right?
Welcome everybody to another episode of Vietnam Rising. Today is marking our 10th episodes and also my 5th month hosting the podcast. It has been a pleasure for me to able to talk to all the amazing guests that we've been having on and listen to their story of what they love to do and why they are doing it. Our guest today is no different. By day, he is running the research divisions of the world's largest media company, and by night, he is the loving husband and father to his family. Today's guest is Nghĩa from groupM. Welcome onto the show.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Tam, so much for inviting me here today. Very happy to be here.
Thank you for participating. Could you introduce to me and the audience what do you do?
Hello, everybody. My name is Nghĩa. I am the head of groupM Knowledge, which is the research division of groupM.
Can you tell me more about what you do? What exactly the research divisions do?
So our division, we conduct research studies annually and also quarterly. We're focusing on consumer insights in media, and we provide insights for our internal media agencies to do planning for the clients.
And your research division is focusing on the market insight in Vietnam?
Yes, in media especially.
You also running other side hustle as well, right?
Yes, in fact, I am the co-founder of a coffee shop / B-bar / event space / local brand consignment store called Mother Hustle in D4 in Ho Chi Minh City. And also a Moka pot focus coffee shop in Hanoi called Vagabond.
What's the Moka pot?
I'm glad you asked. So Moka pot is actually... So like when you go to the coffee shop and then when you order like a latte or like a cappuccino, then the barista usually makes your coffee using the espresso machine, right? So Moka pot is completely handmade. So they use a pot and they burn the coffee beans inside the pot, and then the espresso will come out. And so usually a Moka pot cup of coffee will take more time to do. Usually
and would it make the difference in the taste?
If you just enjoy coffee, casually, then you wouldn't be able to tell the difference that much. It also depends on the kind of beans that you use and also the technique of the baristas. But I think the beauty of it is, the process of making a cup of coffee, completely handmade.
Yeah.
And I really love anything, 100% made by, the hands of the people. So, it's just an experiment for me to do something like that in Hanoi.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah. And was your business affected by COVID?
So, as you can tell, all of my businesses are in F&B industry, which I'm not going to pretend that we any different. So we were deeply infected by the COVID-19, especially back in March and April. We had to close for a few weeks. Everything all operations had to move online and also for takeaway. And we had no gas for a few weeks, and things were very uncertain at the time. So luckily, Vietnam was very successful in combating against the virus. So things are being okay now, and we reopened about 2.5 months ago, and
things are picking up.
Things are picking up. So hopefully in the next, I would say, 3 to 4 months, and we will see, some positivity. It's funny because we use the word positive nowadays, to describe something negative. But hopefully things will be brighter in the next month or so.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Vietnam has been very fortunate to have things in control for COVID, especially in this time.
Yes.
And thanks to that, like a lot of business, even though they are affected, but things are picking up, or if you are fast enough in changing, then maybe things will be different, right? And I'm sure that you would see a lot of that in your research about the consumer market as well as in media in general.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. So as you can tell, COVID-19 is a pandemic, so it's impacting the economy of the entire world right now. So Vietnam is no different, and even though Vietnam was early in combating against the virus, but we still have to rely on a lot of, like
foreign exporting,
yeah. Our connection with China and other countries and in terms of businesses. So right now, as you can tell, like in my company right now, so we still have to rely on our clients, and our clients are multinational companies, so they also have to depend on the offices in the US or in Europe or in other countries, which as you can tell right now, things are still going bad in other countries. So right now, I would say in the past 2 or 3 months, things were slow. They are picking up again, for sure, in Q3. So hopefully, by the end of the year, we will see, some momentum, some positive momentum for the economy.
Yeah. But do you think that there's going to be a ripple effects, considering like they are saying that this is the next global crisis, economic crisis?
Yes, for sure. I believe so. So, things will have to change in terms of for businesses. Even now, like internally right now, we have to restructure a few things. Also, like our clients are they're shifting their budget and they're not spending as much as before, and they're also restructuring their strategy, and also they plan the campaigns for even like for the rest of the year and also for next year. So we have to be on standby and also really active in
changing
and adapting to the new. So, if there is any new normal, I would say there is a new normal in terms of business. Very similar to the recession back in 28, 29 in the US. But this is the first time that Vietnam has something like this ever since SARS back in 2003. So, I think personally, I am cautiously optimistic. Hopefully, things will get better, and I'm always looking forward, and hopefully things will be getting brighter.
You have a lot of access in like market insights and consumer behavior, right? Did you able to benefit that to your personal ventures?
To a certain extent, yes. Because I work in research, we have a lot of insight. We conduct a lot of research and study related to consumer insights. So we understand how the consumer, they think about different brands and different industry and different categories. But to be honest, all of my side businesses have nothing to do with market research. I just love coffee, and I love local brands, and I like the local creativity, and I like to support those creators, like young creators in Vietnam. So most of the projects that I've been involved in, Modern Hustle, Vagabond, and even for Second Siblings, it actually has nothing to do with media, has nothing to do with market research. It's just purely based on my personal interests, and just pretty much.
You have personal interest in like cultural or like local products.
So I am a big fan of, as I said, I'm a big fan of local creators, local creativity. And, I'm very fortunate to be friends and also be in touch with a lot of young creators right now in Vietnam, which we also feature in our stores. We sell a lot of, as you can tell, we sell a lot of products from a lot of creators across the country, from Hanoi to Saigon.
So in all of your spaces, there will be a place to exhibit like the products from local artists in Vietnam.
Yes, that's I think that's the beauty of our concept. We open a business to make money, but we also trying to create like a platform for other people to thrive in. We for example, like for Modern Hustle, we back in 2018 when we first opened for 2 years ago, we actually did a musical exhibition for the first draft. And also we did a few concerts, and it's just stuff like that. It's really new, even for Saigon in Vietnam. So it's and then we got the chance to feature all of the new artists, the new musicians, and others. Not just in music, but also like in like fashion, in like clothing, like
and there's not a lot of platform like that in Vietnam, right?
It's there are a lot, but I think they actually kind of fragmented. So they're not working like together
Like
closely.
community?
Yeah, it's a community. Yes.
Yeah.
So my vision, for Mana Hustle, especially for Mana Hustle, is to create like a platform, like a community for all of those people to gather together and actually work on something together.
And you would focus on the products, or you would focus on people that working on the cultural, the art?
Everything.
Everything.
So as you know, the other co-founder of Mana Hustle is also my best friend, my Tam, which is the founder of Saigon Siblings. So
Shout out to Saigon Siblings.
Shout out to Saigon Siblings. So he's more like an operational guy. So he in charge of all of the operations for all locations, Saigon Siblings and Mana Hustle. So that kind of frees me the time, and also that kind of allow me to have the freedom to work with the other brands, the creators. So it just makes perfect sense for because Tam is more like a guy who is like in the back and working on processes, back office and operations. I'm more like a marketing guy, like a front face of a brand, and working with other people, just like the fun stuff. You know? Yeah. So it's really cool. It's really hard to find somebody like, especially your friend. Like it's tricky when your friends work together, right?
Yeah.
But I think
like
so far
people said that you shouldn't be working with friends and family too.
Yeah, but I think so far for me and Tam, we have had a really good journey so far. We have a lot of ups and downs for sure, but if I could come back in time, I would do it again. It's just so much fun, and the experience and the memories and all of the things that we learn along the way. It's just priceless. So it's just, I really appreciate that. Yeah.
I have one question for you though. Like, you have your main job at one of the biggest media agencies in the world, and then you have several side business as well. How do you manage your time?
So people ask me these questions a lot. I think there is no secret to this. So I think this is a big misconception. People usually talk about like work-life balance in a way. So usually my case is like an example where people talk about like work-life balance, especially among my small circle of friends.
Yeah.
But in fact, I don't have any secret, and I think this is like a big misconception. Because I have to trade off a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like I cannot have it all. So there's a saying that you can do anything, but you can't do everything, right? So like for me, I prioritize my family. That's my top priority. All the time, all day, every day, any day.
Yeah.
But I also love my job. I love my job very much. I also have my interests. So that's how I pursued Mana Hustle and other things. But in fact, I think I have very little social life. I have a very small circle of friends, like only a few people who are extremely close to me. But I very rarely go to any like networking events, or like go to any gathering with people who I've never met in the past 5 years or so. I would tend to zone out a little bit. I'm a little bit of like an introverted, so if I have any excuse not to go to anywhere, so I would just stay home. So I think that it kind of allows me, it kind of gives me time and freedom to pursue what I deeply care about, which is my family and also the stuff that I'm working on. So do you have any like rules, like after 8 p.m. you wouldn't touch work anymore and you just focus on your kids or something like that? No, I actually, my kids go to bed quite early, so they go to bed around 8. So they should sleep by 9, hopefully. So usually after 9, I will go for a run, and then by 10:30 would be my time to work. So I would work. So usually my day would go around. So I wake up at 5:30. I go for a bike ride.
Yeah.
And then I get back home, I have breakfast with my wife, my kids, and I go to work. And I go to work until 7. So usually, during lunch, I would, drop by Mana Hustle. I would drop by here to check on things and check on my staff here. Only once a day during my lunchtime. And then when I get off work and come back home, that's my family time. So, I would say from 7 until like 10, that would be like my family, like quality time. So, I would just focus on them. And then after they go to bed, I would spend some time with my wife a little bit.
Yeah.
And then she go to bed, and then I would start working again for maybe 1 to 2 hours.
Yeah.
So you can see the first thing that I have to trade off right now is time. So, I would probably sleep around 4 to 5 hours a day, which is not, healthy, but it's sufficient enough for me to operate, to work, and also to focus on my family.
Yeah.
But also, as I said earlier, I don't really go out with acquaintances. I wouldn't say friends. I would go out with my friends, like for a beer or like for dinner and occasionally. But I wouldn't,
go
like,
for someone that you don't barely know.
If something like spontaneous, occurs, and somebody like who I haven't met in years, and I would probably need more planning for that. Probably like, okay, we need to plan for that, right? Not like spontaneously go out for like a drink, for that kind of friend.
Yeah.
So I think that's just me. I think, but I feel like by doing so, that kind of allows me to have time for more important things.
But do you feel like you miss out on all of the the joy of going out and networking, because we live in such a busy world right now where we try to balance between work life, family, friends, social life in general, and it's pretty hard for a lot of people to just give up on the social life, right?
Yeah. I mean, we still have the weekends, right? So during the weekends, me and my wife, we still go out with our friends, our family. We take the kids out, go shopping, go eat, and just hang out during the weekends. So I strongly focus on work like 5 days a week, and during the weekend, I just spend time with the family, and we trying to go out of the house, as much as possible, and try not, but we're still together. We still spend time together. But with other people too, with like Tam, for example, with Jifung, and our other friends. But we always do things together. I think that's one of the I think that's one of the things that you can see from me and also my family, that we always like show up together. And
I think that's great. Like that's a lot of valuable time. Sometimes people got too busy and they forgot about the family, right? They're busy getting work, they busy like moving on to a life, and then they don't spend enough time with family. But then you valuable and you make space for your family to make sure you have a lot of time with them.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, they think that they need to do one thing at the time. Like they have to focus on work, and then when they go home, they have to focus on their family.
Yeah,
I think that's not practical, and because no matter how hard and no matter how carefully you plan your day, sometimes like just things just happen, and then you usually like work will bleed into your personal life and vice versa, right? Like for example, when you have dinner, and what if your client calls you or your boss calls you, and you have to pick it up, right?
Yeah.
Even at like 11 p.m. you would have to, and vice versa. Like for example, like if I'm at work and my wife calls me and my son is sick and has to go to the hospital, I would have to, ask for leave and go to the hospital and take care of him. So things like that happen all the time. So I think it's to me, that's why I think like work-life balance doesn't exist. It's not. It's a misconception and it's a myth. It doesn't exist. To me, I think a more appropriate way to look at this is an integration. So we embrace the busy life, especially right now, because we're living among like 24/7 devices like technology and all that stuff. So like there's no way for us to completely shut down from work and just focus on family. There's no way to do that. So I think that the better way to do it is you embrace the busy life that you have, and kind of allow it to come into your life naturally. So for example, what I mean by that is, for example, like were you the one that like if you, when you met your wife, you feel like, oh, it's the right time and you get married right away, or would you be like, okay, I need to be at certain phase in my life before I get ready for get married? That's a completely different question then.
No, but it's kind of like related, right? Because if you're having your family as like your mom and dad, then it's kind of like, it's already easy to integrate. But then if you make your own family, then you have to, section the part where you invest in it.
So, when I got married with my wife, I was at a different stage of my life. So, I got married quite early. I got married when I was 27. I mean, there is no definition of early or late in marriage, right? So if the right time is the right time, then you get married. But I feel like, the common perception from, especially from parents and also my relative, is that we kind of got married early, but at the time we feel okay. We feel like it's the right time to do it, and we've been happily married for over 5 years now, almost 6 years now. So we have 2 young kids, and I mean every couple have their ups and downs and stuff and struggles, right? But I feel like in the past 6 years, like it's been great for us. So I feel like it's
so there was no mental hurdles for you to like, I need to do this before I get married.
No. So usually especially when I talk to my close friend Thumb here, he would have a completely different point of view, because he would feel like I need to make it before I can provide for my family, which is right. There's no right or wrong for that. But for me,
I do. Well, I do feel like that too.
Yeah.
I actually kind of resented to that because like in Vietnam, like me as a woman, then my expected role is to get married, make a family, take care of the families. That's the woman duty, right? So right now I'm in a phase where I'm like, okay, if I have to session a lot of my time to focus on my family, I want to spend at least a few times in my beginning, adult life, to just focus on myself, do what I want before I get married, so I don't feel the regret afterward.
But it's fun and it's better if you do it together with another person, with your partner. So that's how I feel about my wife. So I could have done all of this. I could have still worked for groupM, for my current company, if I'm still single, right? If I'm still gonna work on Modern Hustle and misconception and Vagabond if I'm still single.
Yeah.
But it's fun when I have my wife, and it's like a supporter and it's like your partner, right? In life. And it would, for me, it completely changed the way that I look at things. Like what I mean is like the big comparison between being single and being a husband and a father of 2 is that whatever you do, you have to think about your family. So that's why I think, like, for me, I always have to prioritize my family, even though, my wife is very understanding. She allows me, and she completely supports me to, for me to pursue anything that I want to do, like, for Modern Hustle.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, like when I worked on Modern Hustle in the very early beginning, like even before we opened, like 3 months before we opened, I pretty much had to work like 14 to 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
Because I had to work on my main job, and then, later at night I have to work on this project and had to, work on the process and trying to make it happen. But my wife was very understanding, and she knows that this is something that I'm really passionate about, and she completely understands. So there was late nights for me. I had to go home late, and I didn't really get to spend time with my daughter. I didn't have my son at the time, but I had my daughter was about 3 years old.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have to spend time with her. I feel really bad. But so this is the second point that I'm trying to go to. So I think work-life balance is not about having to pick one thing or another.
Yeah.
Because for example, when I was working on Modern Hustle, I had to completely trade off my personal life for my work. Right. I only have 24 hours, and I spent 16 hours on my work already. So, and the rest is for sleep and for eating. Right. So for days I didn't really see my daughter, and I feel really bad, right? But then, after Modern Hustle was opened and things were getting stable, and, I kind of took a step back. I didn't really have to, work on things again, because I had the back office and the staff that's starting to do things more. So that's when, I have more time for my family, and we went for vacation, and we spend more time, so we kind of make up for that, So it's not, so my point is, it didn't really have to be one thing at a time at any specific time. So it can be just work, or it can be just family time.
Yeah.
And then, it's how you make things like in harmony.
Yeah. If you want it, you make it happen, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that also goes back to the first point, which is integration. So you allow things to go together hand in hand.
Yeah.
And then if you can do that, and also I think that's a better way to expect things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another example I was trying to say is whenever we have like meetings here or at Modern Hustle, I try to bring my daughter.
Oh, yeah. This episode is brought to you by Saigon Siblings Cafe. They are coffee lunatics who love to bring you a unique cafe experience in Vietnam. Their mission is to share the news story about Vietnam to those around the world and people who call Vietnam the home base. I love the fact that we can go to any of their locations and find amazing local products and amazing drinks as well. This is my go-to place whenever I want to show someone amazing products from Vietnam and a good time. Check them out at saigonsiblings.vn.
I think one reason is it's a good reason for her to spend time with me because now she's almost 5, so she's very she knows a lot of things now. She can speak and she can express her feelings now. So I want to spend my quality time as a father and a daughter together. And also I want her to see what I'm been working on. And I want her to see the stuff that, her daddy is working on and the people that he's surrounded with, right? His friends and his partners and other stuff and other people. So I think, if I have any chance to bring my daughter or my wife to see what I'm been working on, I would. I think that would help them to understand more about myself and also about the stuff that I'm working on, so they can be more understanding and it will help the relationship between me and my wife a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I do agree that having a partner who is understanding and support you, and be there and fulfill the parts that you couldn't fulfill in the family role is actually really important. And and I remember actually what you said about your daughter when you bring her to work. I actually remember that for my dad as well. So we also have a family business, and I remember most of my childhood was spending in his office, hanging out and having and then it makes me more aware of what he does, and it helps me to forming what I want to do in my life.
Absolutely, yes. Especially between the father and the daughter. So if the daughter usually looks up to her father, and if you spend like a lot of quality time with your daughter, it will instill the mentality into her head. Like it's the same thing for my dad and my sister. I think, and also for me, my daughter, and you're just the example that you just had. So then that's what I meant by if I have any chance to do it, I would.
Were your dad was also a family-oriented guy?
Yes, he is actually. So a funny thing is when my parents got married, by the time my parents got married, my mother was still working. But by the time they got married, my mom just stayed at home and just took care of my sister. So they had my sister just 1 year after I got married. And then ever since, my mom has been staying home until now.
Wow.
So she's been a stay-at-home mom for 38 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. And what makes me really appreciate my father and my mother is when I was born in 1988. So when I was born, my father actually got a scholarship to go to Czech Republic. To study, but at the time it was like a scholarship for study and working together. It's like a what do you call it right nowadays? It's like a you go there, you study, and
like
but
a
you
work
have to work,
fellowship,
something like that. But it's like a work and study scholarship. Yeah,
got it.
So you had to commit a few years after you study there. You had to commit like 1 to 2 years.
To
work
so
for a company.
to the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was very tricky, right? It was very critical from parents because I was just born like a few weeks old. And then my parents had to make a decision that whether or not my dad can go or I could go. So he did go. So they decided he could go. So what it means that my mom would have to take care of my sister. My sister was 5 at the time, and I was a few weeks old for 5 years.
Yeah. Wow.
So you can imagine I didn't really have my father by my side for the first 5 years of my life.
Yeah.
And and there was no internet at the time. So phone call was really expensive.
Yeah.
So the only way that I could get in touch with each other was running letters and saying photos. So I like my parents still keep all of them now. So I saw a lot, like in the letters, like, one time that my mom sent a letter to my dad, it took months to get to Czech Republic. So like, even like, I remember there was one time that she was writing a letter, and in the letter she said that, like, your son, which is me, like started to walk now. But by the time that my dad got that letter, like I was already, like running around and like talking already. So you can see like how difficult it was, at the time. So that's why
it must be rough for him too. To miss that time.
It was rough for everybody.
Yeah.
And at the time, also my grandparents and also my aunts and my other uncles, they went to the US in 1990. So pretty much like my mom was here all by herself for a few years, for 3-4 years. So, when my dad finished the scholarship and he went back to Vietnam, and he started working, and, he made a promise to my mother that, like he would never go again or, do anything like that. He would never be apart from the family again.
Yeah.
And he, kept his promise until this day. So that's why, my mom has been just staying at home. So my dad was the only source of revenue, like income generation for the family. Because I was young when I saw that, and, I spent a lot of time with my mom at home, and my dad would work really hard. And he came home and he supported the family for how many years? Like so many years. And, that I got to where I am today because of my parents. And so, it's I think that's mentality in the family values that my father shared with my mother, instilled that inside of me. So
was there any like moment or like something that he did for you that makes you really appreciate the family values that he has, and then it instilled into you, and you make the decisions to follow his path in prioritizing the family?
I think my dad is like a typical Asian man, which is like what I mean is that he didn't really show his feelings. Like he doesn't say "I love you." It's not like it's not an Asian thing. It's not a Vietnamese thing.
It's not a Vietnamese thing. Well, Asian in general.
Yeah.
Something.
So he doesn't say like "I love you," but by actions you can tell, right?
Yeah.
Like I knew that like 30 years ago, he didn't really make much, but he still like try hard and send me to like an English school.
Wow.
Which at the time was a luxury. Like the US like 25 years ago was like a big thing. I studied English when I was 5 or 6, which is really uncommon at the time. Like people wouldn't study English until they went to like secondary high school.
Sure.
But I kind of got like a heads up before everybody else, like for a few years. Because I show my interest in languages in general, and also in English particularly. So my dad has to work really hard and to send me to school because he knew that at the time that I loved English and I loved languages. And just stuff like that just showed that how much he cared about family and also for me. And during the time that I was in the US for college, and I didn't really get the chance to see my dad because I was in the US for a few years. I went in 2006, and I didn't come back for the first visit until 2010. So 4 years. So I didn't really see my dad for 4 years, and he had to work really hard at the time to make sure that the family is still doing okay. Why I was being away.
Yeah.
It just stuff like that. We never talk about any of this, but what we can tell that by actions that he pretty much the only protector of the entire family.
Yeah.
And that instilled.
And you would want to do that for your family as well.
I thrive to be somebody like him. Like if anything in my life, I just want to be like my dad. Somebody like my dad, who has a very strong family values that he puts his family above anything else. And it's just not his family. It's also like my grandparents and my aunt, which is like his sister and brothers. And I can see that the way that he treats other people too, like he puts his family above anything else. So which I think it's like throughout the whole, like many years, and it's kind of instilled inside of me, and it creates the person that I am today. And so there was like nothing in particular that happened that kind of did that to me. I think it was just part of my childhood and how the way that I was brought up by my parents.
Yeah. I see that you have a very strong father figure in your life where you can, model it. But I understand that you also spent a few years abroad, and you also seen the different values in the culture of Western Asia, right?
Yes.
In Asia and in Vietnam, we are very family oriented.
Yes.
But in the US, it's more of like individuals and more of like, I, myself, and I. Being exposed to both, why do you still decide that family values is better option?
I'm actually there is still a big combination of both inside of me. So there's a little part of me still quite questionized in a way. So I was in the US for 7 years. I got used to a lot of things in the US for 7 years. So when I first got back here in 2012, it took me like a few months, like to get used to things in Vietnam, even though I am a Vietnamese.
Yeah, of course. Like you've been away for like almost a decade.
Like the traffic and how people they drive here, and the people here too. Like, you know, they're very different. Like, it took me like some time to get used to it. So, you know, there are a few things that I still cannot forget, you know, cannot like get rid of, you know, inside of me, because I was in the US for so long, for 7 years. Like, you know, for like food and also like the manners, for example. Like I think sometimes I still act like, you know, like a foreigner in a way. You can ask them about this and he can tell you. But, you know, I would say 90% of me is still a Vietnamese, and a lot of the core values that I have you steal from my family, and it's still very much family oriented. Yeah.
What is something that you would do different compared to your dad in the way you protecting your family?
My dad is not, I think, except aside from the scholarship thing that he did in Czech Republic, aside from that, you know, like, because, you know, I was so young. I was I was a few weeks old, so I didn't really know anything. But, you know,
would you ever, you know, take a leave like that? Because you have that experience with Modern Hustle for like a few months, right?
Yeah.
But if it's a one in a lifetime opportunity, and like,
I think I did that with Vagabond, because Vagabond is in Hanoi.
Oh,
but then I didn't really have to travel like for years, right? Every 2 weeks I take a trip to Hanoi to check up on things, and we work remotely with my partner and also my staff from Hanoi. But I mean, to be apart from my wife for
but
years.
What if it makes, you know, your family's, you know, because it is one of lifetime opportunity, right? It's maybe an increase in income or something that could valuable for your self improvement, that, you know, maybe you need to go. Then would you do it? It's still benefit your family. It's not like it's not benefiting, right? But it's just that you have to trade a few time, like maybe 3 months away from them.
I think it would have to make sense. Like, it would have to make a lot of sense financially for me to do that. Like, it would have to be like a sustainable, like a really big jump from where I am today, in order for me to make that decision. Because right now, you know, my kids are really young, and you know, I have a big belief that, you know, for my kids, if they are under 6, especially if they are under 6 years old, that's the time that you need to spend with them. So, you know, in order for me to really make that decision to, you know, to be apart from my family, it would have to be like a really once in a million years opportunity to do something that, you know, really, really big. But, you know, I can't even imagine that, you know. I can't even imagine like being apart from my family for like a week. Yeah. To be honest, like you know, like recently I've been traveling for work again, and it's only for a few days, but, you know, like it's just like I'm not used to it, you know. It just because we so used to doing things together, so as a family. So, you know, it's just really hard, and especially right now, like my daughter is going through a phase that she's getting more close to me, because my wife has to take care of the baby boy. So, you know, I don't want to be apart from that. So, but yeah, to answer your question, so I think it would have to be like a really, really big, like gigantic opportunity for me to consider that. Otherwise, you know, I can't imagine that. I can't imagine accepting anything. Yeah,
I see. Well, yeah, I think so too. Like, if it's not financially, you know, such a big difference, then I don't think that's important too, right? Because there's so many opportunities out there.
Yeah, I think like it's easier. It would be easier if you are single, right? And even like if you married, for example, but you have no kids, for example, right? And then if something like that happened to you, like a big opportunity happened, I would say it would be easier for you to make that decision, because it was just between you and the wife or your partner, right?
Yeah.
But if you have kids, right, it would change everything.
Man, you're gonna.
But I don't know. But
you're gonna feel it hard when they start growing up and they start not talking to you again.
I know, right? But I don't know, because, you know, like for example, like my current boss right now at groupM, he's been working like in different countries, but every time he was in a different country, he brings his family. So I also it's so different. But like, let's say if I have a chance to go to, like, let's say for example Singapore, and if I can bring my family, then that would be like a different story, right? But like if it's just me, like the opportunity is just for me, then I have to be away from my family. Then I don't know.
Yeah.
I can imagine that.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's why right now I feel like I still need to get that out of my system.
Yeah.
Like maybe I have to do something for my own, not like everything, right? Because, career is something lifelong, but at least something that I feel like, okay, I have spent a lot of time on self-improvement and I've learned a lot of things on that. And I have all the time in my life right now to focus on it. And once I'm like, okay, that is a good touching point of the goal, then okay, I can do something else. But I agree, like you have such a good supporting partner. I think that it's just so important for everybody to have a work-life balance. You just have someone that, balance out the things that you couldn't handle by yourself, right? Yeah. And it's less lonely too, of course.
Actually, I really hate it when people say work-life balance. Like, I hate the word balance. In that context, I really hate it because I think because I recently saw an article from Jeff Bezos from Amazon. He said that instead of saying balance, you should say harmony. Because when you say the word balance, it implies a really strict trade-off. Like you had to pick one thing or another, right? Yeah. But like harmony is like you allow things to like go together, right? It's like work and personal like can go together if you know how to manage it, right? So I think that that's how I've been doing that. I would say at least for the past 5 years. Ever since I had my daughter, I've been trying to get my work in order, focus on my work, but still prioritize my family.
Yeah. As someone that spent a few years overseas, I'm sure that you also been exposed to a lot of the Western culture, like individualisms and the hustles, life in generals. But you still choose the family values, which is very ingrained in the Asian culture. Why is that?
So I was in the US for about 7 years for college. I got back in 2012. So, by the time when I got back here, it's actually, it actually took me a few months to get used to things here again. The traffic and driving around, etc. So I would say, even until now, I still have the Western values inside of me, especially for like manners and independence. But, I still choose to be a family-oriented person because that's just how I was raised. That's how, my parents showed me what's important in life, so I still choose to be a family person. Yeah.
So you told me that your wife has been a very supporting partner for you to do all the ventures that you've been doing. What has she done for you? So in the past 5 years, ever since that we had our daughter, my wife has been staying at home mom. So she hasn't been working. So she's focused entirely 100% on raising our kids. So to me, that's a really big sacrifice from her side. She doesn't really go out anymore. She's just staying at home, taking care of the kids. That allows me to do the hard part, going outside, making money, supporting for the family. So I think the key to make this work is the element of trust that we have for each other. So I think to answer your question, I think it's integrity. So it's the most important element to keep things intact and keep things work, for any kind of relationship and in order to make the work-life balance work. I actually have a question for you. So as a modern age, young and very successful business owner at such a young age, I mean, how you are like 20. That's amazing. This is like not non-disclosure informations. But that's so amazing. So you are, relatively very successful at a very young age. So to you, what are your core values, not just in business, but also in life, that are non-negotiable? I think one of it is similar to yours is integrity. I truly values people in my life, my number one principle is that I have to always be honest and stay true to myself. That's the promise I've made for myself when I start, participating and working and doing business. I feel like that's the most important thing for anyone is to understand who you are and what you want in life. And you stay true to that. so that you don't just, get compromised by other means in life or others, opportunities, etc. Right? Because, for example, like you have your family value as the number one value, and you stay true to that. And I really, really appreciate people who could stay true to their values, because like in the world there's not a lot of people, and sometimes they just disastrous to themselves, and I think that just do a lot of harm for themselves. Yeah. And someone that being very lucky to be able to understand myself a lot, then I truly believe that integrity and honesty, especially to yourself, is the most important value. So have you ever considering like homeschooling for your children?
Yes, we have. So me and my wife, we talked about this for a while. So, my daughter, especially, during the COVID-19 period, like school were closed and my daughter had to stay home for a few months. And she's still staying home right now for the summer. So if you combine, the TED holidays and the COVID-19 period, she's been staying at home for, I would say, 6 months. So during that time, we had to be very creative with, the way that we educate, my daughter. We have to think of the things and ways, for her to keep her, active, entertained, and educated as well. So, along the way, we discussed about, like, what's the future of this? Is she going to be staying at home, for homeschooling? But I feel like, especially in Vietnam, what's really important for kids, especially for not just in Vietnam, but, for anywhere in the world, is the social side of it. I think for kids, in order for them to go out, see friends, making friends, especially at a very early stage in their life, and to be able to socialize with other people, to see the world around them, and to me, it's me and my wife. We always have this really strong belief that the education coming from the parents, which is me and my wife, outweighs the importance of in what she learns in school. They're also very important, but I think that the way that we treat
I think most people learn things from their families.
Exactly, they copy the parents, right? So so to me that's more important. But I feel like she needs to have friends. Like she needs to go out to see the world and to explore herself and to see what she likes. So we try to do that. So we talk about homeschooling, but for a foreseeable future, I don't think we're going to do it anytime soon.
I see. But you definitely still, because since you're spending a lot of time with her, so homeschooling doesn't necessarily mean like you have to, educate her the entire time, but in your entertainment or your family time, you can like harmonize the educations and
for sure. So my daughter, like, she has been studying English for about a year now. And it's funny because he actually communicates in English more than in Vietnamese.
Wow.
Like, sometimes when she plays with her dolls and the toys, and she's speaking English, and he just like makes up a story in English. So it's really cool to see that. So that's why I really want her to have friends, to go out to making friends in school so they can do that together, right? It'd be more fun for her. And because we live in an apartment, so the apartment is quite small. So, the space is kind of like, it will get to you, so I kind of want her to go out more and see the world more.
Yeah, absolutely. What was, tell me one of the most rewarding moments for you while you spending time with your family?
So before I talk about before I talk about myself, so me and my father, we recently talked about, us, because we never got a chance to really have a deep conversation about stuff, especially of our feelings. But, my dad is he said that he's very proud of me and also proud of my sister and, proud of, the grandkids and everything. And which, and he said that it makes all of his sacrifices worth it. So if you think about it, so when I think about it, I'm 32 right now. So, my sister is 38. So about 40 years, right? So they've been, my parents been together and they've been going through so much, like the first few years in my life, I didn't have my father, and my dad is the only working person in the family, and he's the only person working. So he was able to provide for the entire family, and we got to where we are right now. So whenever I think about it, it just it really means so much to me. It's quite similar to any story that you hear from any immigrant, like the parents like go to the US and they have nothing and they raise the kids like, going to college and, just make it out there. It's very similar, but, my, because my parents are in Vietnam and I'm still living in Vietnam. So I think to me, just hearing that story from my father, kind of makes me want to do the same for my kids. Just provide 100% of what I can. Make sure that, they have the best. By best, I mean like it doesn't have to be just education, but just like to have very happy life and very mentally fulfilling. So to me, so far, I think because my kids are still quite young, so I don't see that yet. But, sometimes whenever my daughter just comes up to me and hug me and she said, that, I love you, which is not very common for Vietnamese people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's the role that my wife and even myself play a part is, because we're very open to that. You can express what you feel. You can express your opinions and your feeling. Just do it. So, I think my daughter has been doing that. So she's been expressing her feeling, like very, very freely, to me and my wife. So I think that's been very rewarding so far. So hopefully, in the next few years when she goes to school and also for my son to grow up and we start to see, more things in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the best gift any parents could give to their children is the freedom to express themselves. And I think, as someone that also have a very strong father figure, I feel like I'm very blessed to have him very open for me to do whatever I want, support me anyways, and in any means that he can. And it has opened a lot of things for me, like especially courage to do what I want to do.
For sure, yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that is a beautiful note to end our episodes. Before ending this episode, if you want to connect with Nghĩa for any of his work in the F&B scene, if you want to check out his space, or if you want to know more about the market insights, then how do we get to you?
So you can check out my Instagram page. The handle is NGHIA. Very simple, just 5 letters. NGHIA. I'm very happy to have a chat over a cup of coffee about business, about sneakers, about family, just pretty much everything surrounding Vietnam right now. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me here today.
Yeah, absolutely. And it has been a pleasure to have you guys have you here
Likewise.
today. Yes. And thank you everybody for tuning in on this episode. If you like this episode, make sure you can rate us on iTunes, as well as let us know what you think about the episodes on our Facebook fan page or our email, vietnamrisingpodcast@gmail.com. And I'll see you on the next one. See ya.
See ya.